Imagine this: you step into a cafe you've never been to, but as you glance at the menu, a strange sense of familiarity washes over you. Every detail, the clinking cups, the music, the red velvet couch, feels like a memory, even though you know you've never been here. That uncanny feeling is known as déjà vu, French for already seen, and it's one of the mind's most intriguing mysteries. Today we're uncovering the science of déjà vu, why it happens, what's going on in your brain, and why it feels like you've been here before. Most of us experience déjà vu at least once in our lives. About 60 to 70% of people report it. It's a fleeting sensation, a few seconds where the present moment feels like a past memory. Scientists say it's not magic or time travel, it's actually a little glitch in how our brain processes memory and perception. To understand why it happens, we need to look at how memory normally works. Our brain has two key ways to recognize something: familiarity and recall. Familiarity is that vague feeling that something is known, like recognizing a face in the crowd. Recall is when you can actually bring up the details, like remembering that person's name or where you met them. In a typical situation, both familiarity and recall work together seamlessly. But in déjà vu, the familiarity signal gets flipped on by mistake, before the conscious recall can catch up. You feel this is familiar, even though you know you've never actually experienced it before. This creates a conflict in your mind. This feels like memory, but it shouldn't. That conflict, experts say, is what makes déjà vu so unique. It's a momentary trick by your brain's fact-checking system, almost like a built-in alarm saying, something doesn't add up here. Researchers like Dr. Akira O'Connor describe it as a kind of metacognitive double-check. Imagine your brain's memory center in the temporal lobes sends a signal to your decision-making areas, the frontal lobes, as if the current experience is a repeat. Then your frontal lobes ask, have we actually been here before? If the answer is no, no real memory exists, you suddenly realize, oh wait, this is a false alarm. That split-second realization is déjà vu. In other words, your brain is so good at checking itself that it catches a tiny mistake and warns you with this eerie feeling. Almost counterintuitively, experiencing déjà vu means your brain's checking mechanisms are working well, catching a misfire before it turns into a false memory. What might cause that initial false alarm? Several ideas have been proposed. Timing delays. Sometimes, information from our senses might take slightly different paths or timings. For example, a brief delay between the signals sent from each eye or hemisphere could make the brain register the same scene twice within milliseconds. It's like a video glitch. The second viewing feels like a memory. Scientists have even used split-second clips in experiments, and people report déjà vu-like feelings when the second presentation plays too closely on the first. Partial recognition. Perhaps you caught a quick glimpse of something. Imagine seeing a blurry poster on the wall, and then moments later, you see it clearly. Your brain could relate the clear view back to that quick glimpse, making the new view feel familiar. This split perception, or incomplete first look, can trick the brain into thinking this was already happening. Hidden memories, cryptomnesia. Another possibility is that the current situation reminds you of something you truly did experience, but you just can't consciously recall it. Maybe you dreamed a similar scene, read about a similar cafe in a book, or saw the same red couch in a movie years ago. The details aren't coming to mind, but they quietly tap your implicit memory. In that case, your brain senses the similarity and lights up a familiarity flag. You think, I've definitely experienced this before, even if the actual source of that feeling is hidden. This phenomenon, called cryptomnesia, is like your subconscious whispering, hey, remember that, when you aren't paying attention. Scientists have tested some of these ideas. For instance, in virtual reality studies, people enter a room that looks almost, but not quite, like one they saw moments earlier. Even though they know it's a new room, a surprising number report déjà vu sensations. This suggests our brains are super sensitive to tiny mismatches between what's expected based on memory and what we're experiencing. The slight inconsistencies can trigger that strange been here before feeling. Neurologists have also studied what happens in epilepsy, because people with temporal lobe epilepsy often experience very intense déjà vu before a seizure. The temporal lobes, including areas like the hippocampus and rhinal cortex, are deep in the brain where memory is processed. In some patients, a small seizure or electrical disturbance can flood these areas with activity, causing a vivid, bizarre sense of familiarity. In fact, Neurologist Wilder Penfield famously triggered déjà vu sensations in patients by stimulating their temporal lobes with electrodes. This link to epilepsy tells us that déjà vu involves core memory circuitry. In everyday life, we assume everyone has fleeting, mild versions of this whenever a misfire happens. Are there conditions that make déjà vu more likely? Yes, doctors have found that fatigue and stress often raise the odds. When your brain is tired, say after a long day or poor sleep, its neurons can misfire a bit more easily. Imagine trying to think clearly when you're exhausted. It's similar for your neurons. This makes those tiny glitches that spark déjà vu a bit more common. Also, neurotransmitters like dopamine play a role. Dopamine is involved in signaling familiarity. Higher dopamine, for example, when you're stressed or using certain drugs, can amplify those signals, making your brain more likely to latch onto a false sense of "I've seen this before." In fact, some people taking dopaminergic medications for mood or Parkinson's, for instance, report getting more déjà vu, and high dopamine recreational drugs can do the same. Interestingly, age matters too. Younger people tend to report more déjà vu than older adults. One theory is that youthful brains have more excitatory activity and a stronger fact-checking frontal cortex, so they notice and report the glitches more. As we get older, memory quirks often become a bit fuzzier, so we might not catch every tiny mismatch. Anecdotally, researchers note they experienced much more déjà vu in their youth compared to later in life. So, to recap, déjà vu usually happens when your brain's memory system throws up a false familiarity warning, and then your conscious mind says no, that can't be right. It can be caused by split-second processing delays, subconscious memory cues, or other neural quirks. If you're tired, stressed, or have elevated dopamine, those tiny glitches become slightly more frequent. Is déjà vu dangerous? Generally, no. In fact, experts emphasize it's usually a sign of a healthy, functioning brain. Some scientists call it a testament to your brain's good fact-checking. However, there is a rare condition called déjà vécu, French for already lived, where a person feels stuck in permanent déjà vu. Everything feels repeated. This can happen in certain neurological illnesses or with some medications, and it's deeply distressing. People with constant déjà vu might feel like every moment is on replay. This occurs, for example, in some dementia patients, or in a famous case where a man took excitatory medications that triggered non-stop déjà vu until they wore off. But for most of us, déjà vu is fleeting and harmless. Philosorically, déjà vu is fascinating because it reminds us how memory shapes our reality. It's like a brief window into how the brain constructs now from the past. Even though the present moment is happening right now, for an instant your mind overlays it with an echo from your memory bank. It feels almost mystical, like a glitch in the Matrix, but really, it's just the brain at work. It tells us that our experience of the present is always built on the foundation of past patterns. The mind is constantly trying to predict and match incoming information to what it already knows. Every so often, that matching system lights up in error, and voila, you get a blast of familiarity. Perhaps next time it happens to you, you can smile and remember, you've just caught your brain doing something amazing and a bit trippy. It's not a message from the universe, just a peek at the hidden gears of your mind. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed unraveling the mystery of déjà vu, smash that subscribe button for more mind-bending psychology and philosophy. Don't forget to like and share your own déjà vu stories in the comments. See you in the next deep dive into the hidden rules of the mind.